Chapter 28, Nile Nails. The box office of the Pyramid Theatre, where Lord Pharaoh would be performing that night, was located in its own kiosk between the Adventure Zone and the indoor kids theme park that our underage heroes had been hearing so much about, and the Sphinx shops at the Cairo Hotel's famed Boutique Distinct, where you could find everything Luxor luggage and the nail salon Nile Nails to the pet salon King Muttonham's Royal Beauty Parlor. As Cass led her friends to the ticket line for Lord Pharaoh's show, they eyed the entrance of the Adventure Zone with a combination of envy and scorn. Parents away, kids hooray. Bungee jump into the Pharaoh's tomb, climb the rocks wall with live monkeys, sing, dance, make your own rap videos. The longest zip line in Las Vegas, nobody over 18 allowed. I'll bet a lot of parents throw their kids into the Adventure Zone so they can keep gambling, said the cast disdainfully. Yoji laughed. Oh, so now you think parents shouldn't let their kids be by themselves? You disapprove or something? I think parents should be parents. What about your mom? Max Ernst asked. Do you think she shouldn't give you so much freedom? That's different. How? It just is. Do I have to explain everything? Yoji and Max Ernst looked at each other and shook their heads. Cash dropped the heavy backpack to the mosaic floor in front of the box office window. 3 tickets, please. She swallowed, looking at the poster behind the cashier's head. The words "one night only" seemed to jump out at her. Balcony Orchestra Premium, the cashier said without looking up. I don't know. What's premium? Front row seat with a backstage pass, the cashier, a woman whose nails were longer than her nose, peered over the edge of the counter. Balcony would be the cheapest, sweetheart. You probably want those. Cass pulled a fistful of $100 bills out of her backpack. I'll take 3 premiums. The cashier raised an eyebrow. You kids weren't playing the slots, I hope. Cass shook her head. Daddy's on a winning streak? Something like that. The cashier nodded wisely. Well, spend it while you can, doll. That's my advice. Trust me, he'll want it all back by the end of the night. Okay. There are 2 hours left before the show, said Yoji as they walked away from with their tickets. We could spend that time carefully planning how to deal with Lord Pharaoh, knowing that he'll probably won't make any difference, and we're going to be killed anyways. Or we could spend the last 2 hours on Earth having fun. He nodded in the direction of the Adventure Zone. What do you say? I don't know. Planning can be fun, said Max Ernest. Yoji eyed him askance. That was a joke, right? Cass looked at the signs covering the Adventure Zone, battling her conscience. Well, she said, finally, maybe it wouldn't hurt to try the zip line. I mean, I could be good training for, if we have to, swing from the pulleys and stuff on stage tonight. Exactly what I was thinking, said Yoji empathetically. What we need right now is a serious training session. But first things first, as soon as they walked into the Adventure Zone, the still starving kids treated themselves to a hot fudge sundae at Oasis's Ice Cream Oasis. The sundaes were huge like everything in Las Vegas and built to their custom specifications. Cass ordered the raw, which came with ribbons of caramel sauce and peanut butter chips. Yoji's Oasis Special was served inside a pineapple and was surrounded by tropical fruit. Max Ernst, of course, ordered a chocolate pyramid, chocolate ice cream, chocolate fudge, and chocolate chips. All the sundaes came with mountains of whipped cream, tossed almond slivers, and clown red-nosed macchiato cherries on top. Max Ernst hesitated about the whipped cream, fearing that it would dilute the strength of the chocolate, but ultimately he gave in, deciding that sometimes more is more. He was not disappointed. Halfway through her sundae, Cass stopped with her spoon in midair, realizing how fast and greedily she'd been eating. Not only was it disgusting, she reprimanded herself that it was unhealthy. It was bad enough to consume so much carbohydrates on an empty stomach. Her blood sugar level was going to spike. But if she kept eating so fast, she was going to make herself sick. She needed to be at the top form of the battle ahead. She looked up at her friends, thinking she should caution them to slow down, and she saw was a frightful sight. Yoji and Max Ernst's crazed looks on their eyes, face smeared with whipped cream and chocolate, and were holding 2 spoons each. They were in such a frenzy, both of them were eating with both hands, double-fisting their sundaes. I think maybe I might just possibly get another one, said Max Ernst, who literally just licked his bowl clean to get the last bit of fudge. Shaking her head, Cass ripped the spoon out of her friend's hands. It was time for a training session. It was amazing how many activities you could fit into a single hour if you have enough motivation and enough cash. After hurtling themselves screaming across the longest zip line in Las Vegas, the kids climbed 100 feet on a bungee jump into the Pharaoh's tomb. While Cass and Yoji jumped, Max Ernest, it would be more accurate to say, was pushed. They floated in zero gravity, actually a wind tunnel, until they were ready to regurgitate their sundaes. They rode the mechanical camels until they were thrown off into the artificial sand dunes, and they played skee-ball until, well, they got a little bored. Yoji even managed to persuade his friends to try their luck at the dance like an Egyptian hip-hop dance steps arcade game. They made him promise not to tell Amber, but Cass drew a line at making her own rap video. Not only did she not believe in such egregious acts of digital self-aggrandizement, but there was something else she wanted to do. She told them she would meet them outside the Adventure Zone 30 minutes later. "Knock yourself out," she said, handing Yoji a $100 bill. She could hear her friends practicing as she walked away. "Don't be a fool, Yo. Lord Pharaoh will put you in your ground for life. That's cool, Yo. If you go home, your parents will ground me for life." A moment later, Cass looked over her shoulder to make sure Yoji and Max Ernest weren't watching as she walked in the Nile nails. It was still silly, maybe, but she could help but being embarrassed about what she was doing. No doubt they would make fun of her later. But if they made fun of her now, she feared she wouldn't have the nerve to go through with it. She'd never been to a nail salon before. Her mother, who complained frequently about the state of Cass's fingernails, had repeatedly tried to get Cass to have a manicure. But Cass struck back by berating her mother with statistics about how the various types of infections you could pick up in a nail salon. Fungal infections, yeast infections, staph infections, the list was long and hideous. She was so persuasive that her mother had given up on going to the nail salon herself. And now her mother's fingernails were almost as bad as hers. "Hi, I'm Felicia," said a smiling woman in a smock. She was dressed like a dental technician, save for her long gold rhinestone-encrusted fingernails and her matching gold and rhinestone-beaded cornrows. "Are you ready to be pampered like a queen? We're running a special on a full mani-pedi, oh dear," she said, getting a look at Cass's fingernails for the first time. "It's sort of a code red situation, isn't it? Your cuticles have grown all the way over your nails. Please don't tell me your toenails are just as bad." "Well, I haven't been chewing on them, if that's what you mean," said Cass, her ears flaming red. Cass tried to refuse the pedicure outright. She was afraid that if she took her shoes off, she wouldn't be able to run out of the room on the moment's notice. In the end, however, she conceded to the super deluxe treatment and the Nefertiti special, which included a hand and foot massage and soaked cuticle relief. The euphemism is turned out to be as painful as cuticle botchery. Fingernails and toenail trims and buffs and 3 coats of polish and a choice of aesthetic Egyptian nail decals. She fought Felicia the whole way, insisting that all the instruments that touched her fingers or feet to be not only sterilized but brand new. Even when Felicia had to switch out the standard and battery board for an industrial sandpaper to sand down the calloused on the heels, Cass insisted on only the freshest sandpaper imaginable. The tailpipe of the dead gray skin and formed a pyramid of its own on each of her heels. It was a testament to how hard both Felicia and the sandpaper were working. When it came time to choose nail polish, Cass asked for a clear, but was urged repeatedly to try a color. She relented and agreed on Cleopatra blue, which reminded her of a lapis lazuli on the ring of the Toph. She was drowsily admiring her new nails, and blue gave them a space-age, almost alien quality that she didn't entirely dislike, as well as contemplating nicely the baby pink of her new sanded skin. When Felicia returned with a spiral notebook. "And now, when we turn you into an Egyptian princess," she opened the notebook to a page of sparkling peeled-off Egyptian symbols. "Do you want to choose, honey?" "No, just surprise me." The first 3 decals were printable and scarabs, an Achen and an Eye of Horus. The 4th, however, made Cass sit up, suddenly wide awake. "What's that?" she asked as Felicia carefully applied the decal to Cass's pinky nail. Just another sticker, honey. No, I mean, is it a hieroglyph, right? Does it mean something? Made up of the 3 wavy lines, one at the top of the other, the hieroglyph was very simple, and Cass had seen it many times in her hunt for the hieroglyphs of the secret. But seeing it now curved around her nail made her realize that she'd seen it before on the papyrus. It's the 4th of the hieroglyphs of the secret, she was certain. It was almost been staring her in the face all along, since so many of the original hieroglyphs had been smudged. She'd always assumed there was more to it, that the 3 lines were part of a grid making a building or something of nature. That hieroglyph, Felicia laughed. Yes, I know it. That one right there is window. In fact, it was on the window of the very salon Cass was sitting in. This is the Nile nails, right? That is the sign of the Nile, but the customer told me it usually means river or water. Hey, you're not a water sign, are you? You seem more like an Aries, but you could be a Cancer, maybe. River, water, Nile, because that's what I was taught. River, water, Nile, water, walk, run, cross. It was a secret, as far as she'd been able to make out. What did it mean? The secret was something about Toph walking next to a river. Or over a river, maybe through a river? Could it be something like the parting of the Red Sea? The parting of the Red Sea, as you may recall, is part of the story of Moses and the Exodus from Egypt. As Yoji had summarized, Cass had never had much of the religious education. Nonetheless, in the course of her studies of such things as plagues, modern as well as ancient, dying frogs is sure sign of environmental catastrophe in the Red Seas, the kind caused by algae, she came across the story of the Exodus several times. And what was the what? Was the what the thing that allowed Toph to walk the river? What was the what the secret of the secret? It was still so confusing. She'd hoped the ring of Toph would reveal the answer. How? She had no idea. Cass, there you are. We've been looking all over. We were worried, yo. Max and Yoji were walking towards her. What are you doing here? What happened to your nails? Hi, said Cass. She'd been so consumed with her thoughts about the secret, she'd forgotten all about her friends. And about her fingernails. She wanted to hide them in her fists, but she was worried they were still wet. So instead she spread her fingers wide. Go ahead, she said. Give me your best shot. Let me have it. No, they look nice, said Yoji. Yeah, nice, said Max Ernest. You bet they do, said Felicia angrily. Have some respect. This is an Egyptian princess, and the rest of the day you must address her as your Royal Highness. Make that Royal Hotness. Oh, for sure I will do, said Yoji as he looked at Cass, barely able to contain his laughter. Is your Royal Hotness ready to go? Yeah, we're late, your Royal Hotness. Max Ernest doubled over. He couldn't help it. Cass punched him, even though Felicia tried to hold her back. Think of your nails.